Welcome to the 9th section of Mastering CSS, Flexbox. Flexbox is a module for laying out portions of a page and currently has great browser support, starting with Internet Explorer 10. Technically, it's not designed for full page layout. It's more for laying out a portion of your page or a single component or widget. For instance, we're going to use it to transform these 3 columns that were laid out using floats and instead use Flexbox to do the same exact thing. And then we'll build a new section, this product listing, using Flexbox to demonstrate how we can build out different things with Flexbox. In this section, we'll tackle Flexbox, switching from floats to Flexbox, go over all Flexbox properties and shorthands, and how we handle the vendor prefixes that come along with Flexbox. This first video is an introduction to Flexbox. I'll first explain what it is and what it does, why it's so useful, and how it can do things that we previously couldn't do as easily. I'll also fill you in on the new terminology that surrounds Flexbox, like flex container, flex items, main size, cross axis, and so on. So let's answer the question, what is Flexbox? The full name is Flexible Box Layout Module, and it provides a more efficient way to lay out, align, and distribute space among child elements in a parent element, even when their size is unknown or dynamic. Flexbox defines a whole new layout mode. Previously, there was block mode, which is designed for document layout. There was inline mode, which is designed for text, table mode, which is designed for tabular data, and positioned mode, which is designed for explicit positioning without much regard for other elements around it. Now there is Flexbox mode. So what does Flexbox do? A lot of really useful things, really. At its core is layout and alignment. You can lay out elements vertically or horizontally. You can align elements to the left or right, like you can with floats, but without all the extra baggage that comes along with floats. You can also center align elements horizontally or vertically. Also, you have control over the display direction. For instance, you have the elements display in their source order by default or in reverse source order. Furthermore, you can take explicit control of elements and change their display order to your heart's delight. Another thing it does easily is give you equal height columns, which could only be achieved previously using hacks. But its real delight is how it can distribute elements in their parent in regards to the available space. So this is all exciting stuff, and I'm sure you want to start seeing it in action. But before we jump in, we need to do some homework and learn the Flex terminology. So in order to start using Flexbox, there must be something called a flex container, which is the blue rectangle. The flex container is an element that contains the flex items, the pink rectangles, or in other words, is the parent of a collection of elements. The flex items are just child elements of their parent, again, which is the flex container. So that's pretty simple. There's also something called the main size and cross size. By default, the main size is the width and the cross size is the height. But that can change if you change the flex direction, which we'll get to in the next video. Furthermore, there is something called the main axis, which runs horizontally by default. And there's something called the cross axis, which runs vertically by default. There's a property we'll learn about later called justify content, which controls alignment along the main axis, whereas another property we'll talk about later, align items, controls alignment along the cross axis. And the main axis and the cross axis can be toggled based on the flex direction being set to col or row. So this is just an introduction to the terminology and a few of the properties. Don't expect to have all this sink in right away. We'll refer more to this diagram as we start using different properties throughout the next handful of videos. And we'll cover every single property in depth in the upcoming videos. I'm going to code in the latest version of Chrome, which as of now supports the unprefixed versions of all Flexbox properties. This is going to uncomplicate the learning experience. In the final video of this section, we'll talk about what needs to be prefixed and how to add prefixes in the easiest way possible. In this video, we talked about what Flexbox is, a series of properties for laying out content on a page. And we talked about what it does. It makes layout easier and is used for layout and alignment of chunks of your web page. And we talked about terminology like flex containers, flex items, main size, cross size, main axis, and cross axis.